Hey everyone, it's Rye Myers, your Broadway and Entertainment BFF, and you're watching my live digital talk show series, Live with Rye. I'm so thrilled you're joining me. Listen, if you're getting value out of this video or you got value out of this video, do me a huge favor right now. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. If you're joining on Facebook, hit that thumbs up and give me a like so we know that you're watching. And finally, last thing, before we begin, I love doing what I do, and I love bringing you all of the best interviews with people in the Broadway entertainment pop culture world. So listen, I need your help. If you are so inclined, I would love if you'd consider helping to support the channel. You can scan the QR code here, or you can go to rydthenewsguy.com/donate, which is also scrolling across the bottom of your screen as well. And feel free to donate what you can and whatever you are able if you are so inclined. I love being able to do what I do and bring you the best interviews with some of the best people in the industry that's focused on positive, good, lighthearted news. So again, if you're so inclined, head to rydthenewsguy.com/donate. With that, let's welcome my very special guest today. We have some incredible people. I'm going to first welcome Jacquie Militano, who introduced me to these wonderful people and who I've known for a bit. So help me welcome Jacquie. Hi, Jacquie.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Jacquie, before we welcome our three incredibly talented students, why don't you just quickly tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of about this production that you're a part of?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a director, producer, actor. I've been joking that I'm like a Jackie of all trades because I do a little bit of everything. I got involved in this production oddly enough, years and years ago by working with the school system and through a company called KJK Productions. Right. So we came into the school and we've been doing the elementary school shows and the middle school productions. And then this year I am working on the high school production, but of course we can't be live in person. So it's been a little bit of like ebb and flow and learning how to reinvent and find ways to like create and connect in this virtual stage environment. But I was getting restless watching some Zoomsicles. Also, whoever branded that word and first said it is genius. And I've been stealing it and all of us have ever since. We are working on a production of Urinetown, the musical. And it's really no coincidence that we decided to do a show that tackles everything from like a public health crisis and political division and, you know, social injustices. And so that part of it felt really relevant to me to be doing that show this year at this time. And it not only resonates in a like serious sense, of course, but the show at its core is a comedy and a parody of musicals, and not just musical theater as an art form, but it's also a parody of musicals themselves. It literally references everything from like Les Mis to Fiddler on the Roof. You know, everything is sort of like hit in there. Anyhow, so we're talking about like, how do we create a show online that is different from that typical Zoomsicle while we're tackling these serious subject matter, although it's this dark comedy parody, and we need to find a sense of humor in this time to pull through, right? How do we play with the medium? So we have been working on the production a little bit more as though it's a film. We took the time to record all of, for example, the music element of it. All of the audio was recorded in individual voiceover recording sessions. So then my musical director layered all the vocals together, and then we have these robust tracks that we don't have to worry too much about like spotty Wi-Fi or singing being off of the timing because of the Wi-Fi or just, you know, different feeds on Zoom. So yeah, we tackled it like a film, full shot list and shoot schedule. And then I've been in the edit process because I'm also a video producer. So I've been editing this whole production for several weeks now, and I am very tired, but I'm excited for everyone to see it. We want it to feel like it is sort of a movie that we filmed remotely in different locations. Yeah. So that sort of encapsulates what we've been working on. And I was excited to talk to you because I felt like you're such a lover of theater and like reinventing and finding ways to be so positive during this time. And like, how do we come together as a community to remind everyone and inspire everyone that the arts are still happening. You know, the people are theater, and we have stories to tell, and how do we tell them right now? So that's why we were excited to share our show with you.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you shared it with me and you told me about it. I love Urinetown. It's a musical that I enjoy a few times locally and regionally. And I'm so thrilled you are sharing it with me. And the process sounds exciting. I have to say, Zoomsicles, that's the first time I've ever heard that. In what are we in month 13 of this pandemic? It's the first time I've heard of that. I love it. But
oh my gosh, too funny.
Let's welcome some of the cast members of this incredible production. So we have Tyler, Eva, and Richard. Hello. How are you?
Oh, the real stars of the show.
So why don't we start with Tyler? Tyler, why don't you tell us your full name, your role in the show, and you know, sort of your part in the show.
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Tyler Buxer Schultz. I play Hot Blades Harry in Urinetown at Edgemont, and it was a really enjoyable experience. It felt as communal as it could be during these times, and I was happy to be a part of it.
I love that. And Richard?
Hi, I'm Richard Yan. I play Officer Beryl in Urinetown, and yeah, I agree with Tyler. It was definitely very communal, despite the obviously, you know, the online space, and I think we made the most out of it that we probably could have.
That's wonderful. And how about for you, Eva?
Hi, I'm Eva Ardudo. I played Little Becky Two Shoes in Urinetown, and yeah, I agree with Richard and Tyler. I think it was a really enjoyable experience, and I'm glad that I did it.
That's wonderful. It's great role, by the way, Eva. That's really awesome. So, what was this? What was this process like for the three of you for filming this? You know, I mean, it was obviously so different, but how? You know, Jackie, I know you spearheaded the process, and you mentioned it was like filming a movie. But how did the three of you manage this, and what was your unique experience out of this? I mean, obviously, much different than in years past. You weren't in person, but the way that this was filmed was like a movie. So what was that like to have it not just be a, you know, zoomed performed musical? Whoever would like to start? Eva, you want to begin?
Yeah, I think it was really different. I'd done a Zoom musical before, and it was live. We didn't film it beforehand like we did for this show. And right. I think it was a little bit weird, like being alone in your house and sort of like singing and performing just to yourself. But I think once you sort of got out of that headspace that it was just you when you were alone, it was really interesting because you got to play with elements of like acting that I feel like we hadn't really gotten to do before we started filming.
Wow, that's really special. So it was one of those things where you had to, did you like record yourself and then you had to, sent in sort of your role recorded over to Jackie?
We, like every night we had a certain scene that we were going to do, and we would go on Zoom, and then when it was your turn to film it, you would do it on Zoom with everyone else.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we like recorded on Zoom for the voiceover sessions were like on Zoom. Like they'd be booked for, call it like an hour session of their own to record their vocals. And right. Then after we were done with all the music, and then we had scratch tracks from our musical director, we used those scratch tracks to like lip sync kind of to ourselves. And then for the actual video recording process of it, we took it like shot by shot. I had like a shot list of like 400 shots or something, including like wacky B-roll that I'd be like, okay, now put your camera on the floor, Eva, so I can get your feet dancing kind of a thing, like a close up on your feet. But we, it would be like, okay, now Tyler, you're on camera only, and we're going to do this entire scene again. And it's just your lines direct to the camera. And this will be like your close up, call it. And then we would do maybe the scene again in a 2-shot with Eva and Tyler on screen together. So we really broke it down like that. I think you guys probably did every scene like 20 times. I don't know. Something crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'll let the others speak on the process a little more if they want to.
Yeah, no, that's insane. Oh, wow. I mean, Jackie, you've just been hard at work with this. I mean, this is incredible. You know, Richard, I'll go to you next. What was how did you manage this, and what were some of the unique experiences for you in doing a production like this?
Well, I think as Jackie said, we did a lot of takes of each shot that we had, so it did really feel like working on a movie set. Jackie would go like action, and then we would just sort of go into our scene, and then we'd say cut, and then we'd restart from a different angle. So it was very different than sort of like traditional theater, where you just sort of like maybe you would run the whole thing through. But we did a lot of like stopping and starting. But I think it was definitely interesting. It was a great way to try a different style of acting, and yeah, it was really, really fun.
Wow. Yeah, that definitely is a different style of acting. Now, are you want to be a performer? Are you studying to go to school to be an actor?
I did apply to a bunch of colleges for acting. In the end, I think I'm going to end up going to college just probably for like radio, TV, and film in general, in terms of like maybe doing some behind the camera stuff and producing and stuff like that. In front of the camera, I mean, I might do like, you know, projects on the side, or I might pursue theater minor or something like that. Definitely going to keep myself involved.
Well, either way, whatever major you choose in that nature, this really must have helped prepare you for it. You know, it sort of brings you out of our zone of what we normally know as humans in performing. So I'm sure it only makes you a stronger performer, a stronger person in general. So how about you, Tyler? Anything to add for you? Like, how did you manage experience, and you know, how did you manage this, and what were some of the unique experiences for you?
Well, I found this show to be a very relieving way to end my days. It felt like I think everybody pulled their weight very well, and I felt, even though this was all done sort of in isolation, I felt that everybody cared about the end product, and so I found that to be I found it to be very, like, it felt like it wasn't really work. It wasn't something I had to manage really, but something that I could just be a part of and enjoy that during these times. So, and yeah,
that's really nice, and you know, wonderful that you felt that way. It didn't feel like work. Before we proceed, for those watching, because I'm sure they're eager to know, when does this production of Urinetown premiere? When is the opening night, the opening night of it?
Well, so because all of us actually couldn't be together during this time, we're having like a special event that's cast only. So everyone in the cast and creative team gets to pre-screen the show on Friday night. So we have a big like red carpet style event with like swag bags and surprises. And I'm encouraging all of them to dress like in their semi-formal, formal best, because like also I mean, you guys go to school, but like I don't leave my house. So the fact that anyone gets to dress up is fun for me. So we're doing that on Friday evening. And then on Saturday at 7 p.m. is the actual screen of the show for like a general audience. So tickets are on sale now, and the show will be available to stream once you purchase those tickets starting Saturday at 7 p.m. for 48 hours. So yeah, so it's this weekend basically.
Well, that's exciting. And that leads me to this, which is, here's the link if you're interested in purchasing your tickets. I'll leave this up for a sec. You can go to the website showtix4u.com/event-details-5500. And that's where you can get your tickets for this. It's only 48 hours. And I will put that up again before we finish. So what is something positive you learned about yourself during this time, during this whole experience? You know, was there, you know, obviously with being in the pandemic and being virtual, it's tough on all of us, but was there something positive that you learned about yourself as a performer or as a person that you may not have known or learned prior to this? And Jackie, we'll go around, but Jackie, we'll start with you.
Sure. I didn't think you were going to ask me that. But I would say for me, I've learned a whole different level of patience. I think like this has been very trying, not this process per se, but this entire year has been very trying for everyone. And as you said, you're in isolation, you know, it's tough. And And I struggle with that as an artist and a person who likes to connect. And I also, as an educator, I missed being like in person with them. So to find ways to like be patient about that process, to trust that process. And then also, I guess I learned that I am able to adapt because I was willing to just take on like this entire beast of a show and say, like, how can we put this up online? And like, to be honest with you, we wanted to do this as like a hybrid production. Like anything that I was planning to do with this cast, right. I wanted some kind of ability of like, if we had the chance to film in person, like if I got to take my fancy camera out on the town and like film them outdoors, even if masked up or individually, like how can we make that happen? But knowing that at any moment something can change. So to be able to adapt to that, and then inevitably we had to pull the plug on that concept and say, we're going all in on this being completely remote as a production. And so I think those are the things I learned about myself, probably did a level of patience I didn't think I had. And I have a toddler. So, and, you know, to reinvent and adapt in a time and just kind of like be willing to do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are all.
I'll let them speak on this. They probably have more.
Yeah, of course. Well, those are all important things, and as for I mean, for the person who's spearheaded and oversaw this is important, and patience especially. Tyler, how about for you?
Yeah, I mean, just with everything that's been going on in the world, and how we sort of have to rethink of how we approach things going forward, and throughout this entire time, I think I've learned to not put things so much in a box or a specific definition of what something could be, like with theater. With this, I was very tentative to do it at the beginning because I just wasn't sure if this could really be theater. It just didn't feel like definitionally it could be that kind of experience. And it was certainly different, obviously, because we're all in isolation from each other. But the core of theater, which is sort of, I think, is the communal aspect of it and the communal appreciation and passion, was still very alive, and I could feel that. And yeah, I think it made me rethink my perspective on what theater can be.
That's really special. I think that's such a great outlook and a great thing that you took away from it. Now, let me ask you, Tyler, are you pursuing theater? Is that something you want to pursue professionally in school, or is this just a hobby of yours? I'm always curious.
Yeah, I'm really not sure about what the future holds for me in
That's okay.
the theater. At the moment, I can't imagine myself going into it professionally, but it will certainly always be an important part of my life.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, as long as it's a part of your life in some way, whether it's performing or watching it, that's all that matters. How about for you, Richard? The same question. What is something positive that you learned about yourself during this experience?
I think as any actor will know eventually, like adaptability and being able to take rejection really well is something that you sort of need to have that ability as an actor. Right. And I think we faced a lot of rejection this year in terms of like putting together the show. We were told we might be able to film in person, and then that was just gone. And we had to sort of be able to work around that, move on from that. And in terms of adaptability, I mean, I had to, and a lot of everyone else in the cast, we had to sort of look at our walls and look at our dressers instead of looking at each other when we performed. And that was definitely something very different. But yeah, I think it made us better actors. It improved us, and it made us more versatile.
For sure. Yeah, I can only imagine that it would, it's sort of creativity wise, I'm sure it helps you even more in that medium, and can just, I think, prepare you down the line for no matter what you do. And how about for you, Eva? Same question.
I think something I learned is like, I don't always have to be focused on everything being perfect. Like, I really like things to be exactly the way I wanted, and I'm very particular. But I think like a lot of this was not in my control. And like with Jackie knows, like I had a lot of issues with my costume and stuff. And like, I was always worried about like everything being perfect. And I was like, what if things don't work out? But I realized that like I just kind of have to let go and not always try to be in control of everything. And I think that's a really useful lesson.
It is, and it's so hard. I mean, even in today's world, the digital world, it's so hard to not, to not be in control, and in the digital realm of everything, it's tough. So I understand that. Well, what is your favorite song from Urinetown, for the three of you? This musical has such a great songs. If you watching haven't seen the show, listen to the soundtrack. Just if you're on Spotify, iTunes, listen to it. It's got a really catchy soundtrack. One of my favorite musicals. So what was your favorite song from the show, whether you performed it or whether it's a song that you didn't perform? Richard, to start with you.
Well, I gotta say, as Officer Beryl, I gotta say Cop Song. I mean, that's sort of my song, along with my friend Anthony. He plays Officer Lockstock in the show, and that was sort of our moment to sort of come through and really just experiment with our creativity. We played a lot with the camera, and it's one of those musical numbers where you can just sort of give it your all, act a little crazy, and it's just a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun to rehearse, a lot of fun to perform. And I'm really excited for the audience to see that one.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I also like that song as well. It's a good one. How about you, Eva?
I think I really liked Run Freedom Run because, I don't know, just like the style and the harmonies, I think they're really just like good. But Snuff That Girl is definitely a close second because that's just such a fun song.
I agree. Run Freedom Run is incredible. And again, this is my musical theater geek coming out. If you haven't seen Urinetown, just Google Run Freedom Run Urinetown and watch their Tony Award performance back when first aired.
That's what made me buy tickets to the show.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. And you'll just see how incredible the songs are. So, again, don't take it from me. Listen to the soundtrack or watch it and then go watch this performance because the music is incredible. And how about for you, Tyler?
I have been thinking about this for the past minute, and it's really difficult to decide between a couple songs. I feel like I should say Snuff the Girl just because just musically I really love that song. It's quite jazzy, and I really enjoy jazz. And that's also the song that I feel my character, Hot Blades Harry, gets to be the most creatively boundless. That was just a very fun song to explore what to do with. But I think on like an emotional level, I might have to say Tell Her I Love Her. I just find that song to be very touching. Yeah.
That's great. And Jackie, where did you come up with the idea this year to do Urinetown? Was this a show that you had wanted to do for a while, or what made you choose it this year? And that's not in a bad way. I'm just wondering. I love the show.
Yeah, of course. To be honest, I hadn't thought about it before. If we were in person, like on the stage, I actually don't even know what show I would have picked. I played around with like The Wedding Singer because I am like such a fan of that show. It is so fun and the energy is so high. And I am a sucker for that 80s music. But then when we were talking about doing the show outdoors, like the idea of like, do we have the possibility to either do a full show outside or film outside? And then I was like, oh, well, what if we did Into the Woods? And I thought that would have been perfect, except no Sondheim shows are approved for online streaming. So no matter what, if we couldn't have an audience without putting it online, we wouldn't be able to have done it. So then I had kind of like just went crazy on looking through MTI's website of like what shows were approved for streaming. And that list is much, much smaller than you would ever think on any of the royalties websites. And then when we were scrolling through, and my creative team and I work for KJK Productions, which is an amazing company. It's a nonprofit in Westchester County in New York. And myself, Anthony DeMarty, my assistant director and choreographer, and I were kind of like, does this make sense? Like, Urinetown is a show that we have the freedom, as these guys have all actually said in a lot of the answers to your questions, that like we had the ability to just kind of explore and do just about anything and be creative with things. And because Urinetown is that parody on musical theater, we were able to kind of let the audience in on doing it in a Zoom, you know, forum, to like let them in on the joke of that too. You know, like Zoom in and of itself as our space, our theater, our stage is also a comedy to me, you know? So yeah. we thought like this show gives us the flexibility to do a lot of different things, no matter what variable comes our way. And then in addition to that, all of the topical reasons, some of which I mentioned before, everything from like, you know, talking about environmental issues and a public health crisis and longstanding social injustices and political division and class divides, you know, like there's so much about like the rich versus the poor, and the bureaucracy. I can't speak sometimes. So all of that, I feel like made this very relevant. And I feel like the show will always be relevant, but this year especially felt like something that we could use to inspire each other to find these new ways to play in this space. And I'm glad to hear that these three have said like they had the ability to kind of like try different things, and like we were open to doing all of that, because that was a huge part of it. You know, we were all kind of in this together, exploring like what was this show going to be and how's it going to look and how are we going to tell this story and how are we going to move an audience, you know?
Right.
I keep saying I want to make them laugh and I want to make them cry and I want them to like think after, you know?
Yeah. I love that. Well, sort of as we wrap up here, a final question is for all of you. What do you hope that the audience will take away from this production of Urinetown? Is there a message or hope, whether it's to make them smile, whether it's to have them learn something? What do you hope to have the audience take away from this production? Tyler, start with you.
Well, I hope that they can have a similar reaction to what I had while filming and creating this, is that theater doesn't necessarily have to be how we've always imagined it to be, and it can come in many forms, this certainly being one of them. Even though this is more of a movie, I definitely felt the presence of what I've always known theater to be in this work. And I also think just the message of the show, of the text of Urinetown, I find that really impactful. Just sort of, I've definitely, it's made me think a lot more about different social injustices, and I'd like to think we did the script justice in that.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure you did. Ava.
I agree with Tyler. I think that like to show people that even if theater isn't like, this isn't what we would think of when we think of theater, that like we can still do things and we can think outside the box and make things work the way that they wouldn't normally have. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. Thinking outside of the box. I mean, that's sort of the motto of, I guess you could say, this past year. So that's wonderful. Richard, how about for you?
Yeah, I think it's just like, you know, as storytellers, I think it's important for the audience to know that like, if you have a story to tell, if you have yourself and you have a space to, you know, share your story, you can basically, you can keep doing what you love and you can keep telling stories and performing theater. And while this year we didn't have a conventional stage and a, you know, space in person, but through this online platform, we were still able to share this really amazing musical and with a really awesome story that will speak for itself on Saturday.
Oh, that's wonderful. Before we go to you, Jackie, Eva, I forgot to mention, I didn't want you to think I was leaving you out. Do you hope to pursue theater as you go on in life, or is this just something you enjoy while you're in school? I didn't mean to leave you out of that question, but I wanted to get your response.
That's okay. Honestly, I don't really know. Theater is definitely something that I love, and I've been doing it since I was literally a baby. But you know, I don't know. I'm kind of at that time where I'm thinking about colleges. Like I'm at the end of my junior year, so
Right.
I think it's definitely something I'm going to look into, but I can't really say for sure whether or not I'm going to actually pursue it.
No, that's okay. All I can say to the three of you is as long as you keep the arts in your life in some way, whether you pursue it or whether it's, you pursue something else, which is awesome, as long as you continue to support the arts, and you don't have to also know what you like as well. That's, if you're not sure what you want to do or you're not sure what you want to pursue, that's okay as well. But I don't want to get too far off, but I just wanted to leave wanted to leave that with the three of you. What about for you, Jackie? What do you hope that audiences will take away from this? What do you hope they'll take away as the person who created this production and spearheaded it? What do you hope they'll take away?
Oh goodness, so many things. I mean, so much of what all three of them have already said. I love what Tyler said. Like, I do hope that the audience will see this and say, oh, like, yes, I was home in my house, like watching on my couch and the comforts of my own home, but it still has the energy. And as Richard said too, like, we're still able to tell these stories. I think an appreciation for theater and the arts is huge. And to like go back a little bit to what you just said to Eva, like, that's why I love companies like KJK Productions, because some of the kids that we work with, even in like starting in elementary school, this is an introduction to the arts, and not everyone is going to pursue it. But I always say it's like, if you're not a person necessarily who's on like an athletic team, right? This is still your team. This is still how we have this community of people. And I think while we don't have the audience in the show right now, so that element is missed a little bit. Of course, we're always going to miss that live theater element. And the audience is kind of like this additional performer in the show, right? I do hope that the audience has that ability to watch it and have those takeaways and enjoy the production as if it were live, to appreciate theater from that, that experience of theater. And I think the support of the arts right now is necessary. And I think the arts are vital in general. And I think without them, many of us could not sustain. The creator of the show actually had a quote that I had written into my director's note that, so this show was supposed to open on Broadway like 3 days or so after 9/11. Right. And then it was delayed, of course. All of Broadway was shut down and most of New York and the world, and then as things started reopening, on opening night, when the show came back, the creator had said something like, theater cannot save lives like the way like firefighters could or things like that, but that we hope to just bring some level of like entertainment and hope to the audience that those nights, and I agree with that quote completely, and I'm misquoting it right now, but no, it's what I would like to add to it though is like theater cannot technically save lives. Like, we may not be doctors right now, but without the arts, I mean, I don't think myself or a lot of us would necessarily like be here and thriving. So I think like why I was so excited to come and talk to you and have these guys come and talk to you is that that message is what I really, really want everyone to take away from either watching your show or our show on Saturday, and just have a better appreciation for what we all do as artists and the different variables of what that means. Not everyone is an actor, not everyone is a dancer. Some of us are behind the scenes, and all of these people are out of work right now. And all of us from the top all the way down to our high school show are learning how to reinvent and recreate right now.
Yes. Learning how to pivot. You got that right. And I mean, arts education is so important. Arts is so important. And we're learning that more than ever this past year. It's disappointing that it took a pandemic for people to realize sort of how special and important the arts are. But yeah, it is important. And it, as you said, it saves lives, and not, in the sense of, a doctor or first responder, but it does heal, and it helps in its own therapeutic way. And, so that's wonderful. Jackie, where can we keep up with you? And I know you also have a production company as well. You're on social media. Where can we keep up with you and learn more of what you're up to?
Sure. So I am mostly active probably on Instagram, which is Jackie with a QU and spelled with, oh, there you go, with a QU. And then my production company is QU Productions Co. And then anything related to like our theatrical productions, I generally work through KJK Productions in New York, and they're on kjkproductions.org. And you can see all of their programs and offerings there. And yeah, and for our show, we're also on Edgemont Theater on Instagram and Facebook. But it's not spelled, I think it's theater ER.
ER.
Which
Okay.
also, which one is it? Because that's like the forever debate. Is it theater RE or theater ER?
Your guess is as good as mine. I have no clue. I thought it was ER, but then I see it RE. I don't know. And I know in the UK they do the RE, but here it's ER. I don't know. I agree with you.
Like 12 years of my performance career saying it and writing it, really, theater ER.
Yeah.
And in my later adult producer years, I've changed it. I don't know. Maybe I've evolved. Who knows?
That's great. I love that. I love it. Well, if you got value out of this video and you'd love to keep up with me, you can follow me on social media. I'm at Rye_Myers on Twitter and Instagram. And on Facebook, I'm at official Rye Myers. You can like me on there. And just once again, as a reminder, if you are so inclined, I love being able to bring you some of the best interviews with people in the entertainment and Broadway pop culture world that's focused solidly on positive, lighthearted, good news. You can head to ridethenewsguy.com/donate or scan the QR code to make a donation if you are so inclined. Your support for the show and for everything that I do means more than you know. So again, if you are so inclined, head to ridethenewsguy.com/donate. Before I go, before we let you go, Tyler, Eva, Richard, is there any sort of last words, anything you want to leave us with that maybe if I didn't get a chance to talk about, or anything you want to leave us with, or did we hit everything?
Just thank you for having me, and us. This was a fun time.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for doing this interview with us. And for those of you out there watching, I hope you guys come to our show and enjoy our show on Saturday.
Yeah, buy those tickets. Support the arts, guys.
Yes. Yeah, buy those tickets. Again, you can go to, here's the link to buy the tickets. So show tickets for you, the letter 4.com/event-detail/5500. Well, as they say in the theater, break a leg. To all of you, I wish you the best this weekend with your performance. Please go and see this exciting performance. I cannot wait to see it. Support the arts, support theater, support these wonderful people in their production. Listen, Tyler, Jackie, Richard, Eva, thank you so much for doing this. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you all.
Thank you.